Hi everybody, Dr. Nigro again. We're going to do another percent yield problem. All right, this one's going to be a little bit more complicated, but as a reminder, remember percent yield is used to measure the success of a reaction. All right, and it's a ratio of products produced. It's the actual yield, which is what we collect within an experiment, so it's also known as an experimental yield, versus the theoretical yield, which is what we should have collected if everything had been perfect. All right, so the calculated one is the one that we usually use stoichiometry to find. All right, so let's look down at problem number 2. All right, here, solid zinc sulfide, I left out the other part. Solid zinc sulfide reacts with oxygen gas to produce solid zinc oxide and gaseous sulfur dioxide. So let's start, before we read the rest of the problem, with our reaction, because we know we're going to need that. All right, so zinc is +2, sulfide is -2. So our formula there will just be one of each, and it says solid, so I'm going to give it the solid designation. Oxygen's one of our diatomics, so O2 gas. Reacts to form zinc oxide, so zinc again is +2, oxygen's -2, so one of each. All right, solid again. And then gaseous sulfur dioxide, so that di tells us 2 oxygens along with 1 sulfur. All right, so there's our reaction. All right, we check it to balance. All right, I'm going to start with a 3 here. So it'll give me 6 oxygens. All right, and then I think I'm going to need 2 here, and 2 here, and 2 there. All right, and that looks like that's going to get it done for us. All right, the rest of the problem reads, during a particular experiment, the percent yield of 86.78% of sulfur dioxide was achieved using 4,897 grams of zinc sulfide. What was the actual yield of the sulfur dioxide? All right, so here's what we know. We started with 4,897 grams of that zinc sulfide, and at the end of the problem, or at the end of the reaction, we had produced a percent yield of 86.78% of that sulfur dioxide. All right, so we remember that percent yield is equal to our actual yield divided by our theoretical yield times 100%. All right, now for this particular problem, I'm going to fix this. All right, we've been given the percent yield, all right, and we're asked to find the actual yield, which means I need the theoretical yield. All right, so I'm going to need to use that 4,897 grams of zinc sulfide and find out how many grams of sulfur dioxide I should have made. All right, as we saw before, we can't go directly between those two, so our first step, moles of zinc sulfide, and we'll use the molar mass of that compound for that step. Then we're going to convert to moles of the sulfur dioxide. We'll use a mole ratio step, and then we can convert to grams of sulfur dioxide using its molar mass. All right, so this is going to give us our theoretical yield. All right, and once we have that, we will go up into our formula and solve for our actual. All right, so we start with what we've been given, 4,897 grams of ZNS, molar mass, so I'm going to put grams down in the bottom, moles up top, and go get my periodic table, and I find that 1 mole of zinc sulfide has a mass of 97.47 grams. It's going to let me cancel those grams. Next step, mole ratio step, moles of ZNS in the bottom for canceling, moles of SO2 up top. Then I go check my coefficients. For every 2 moles of zinc sulfide, I produce 2 moles of SO2. So that's going to cancel. And I end with a second molar mass step, this time for SO2. So moles in the bottom, grams up top. And according to the periodic table, 1 mole of SO2 has a molar mass of 64.07 grams. So that's going to cancel. And we're going to find, once we use our calculators, that we should have produced 3,218.94 grams of SO2. All right, and this is our theoretical yield. All right, so with that theoretical yield calculated, we're now going to use our formula and we're going to solve. So again, remember, percent yield equals the actual yield divided by the theoretical yield times 100%. All right, so for us, we have a percent yield of 86.78%. All right, our unknown is our actual yield, and we found that theoretically we should have produced 3,218.94 grams. All right, multiplied by 100%. All right, so if we rearrange and solve, we're going to find our actual yield here should have been 2,793.40 grams. So in the lab, that's what we collected, which we then used to calculate that percent yield. All right, so that's just a slightly different way to work one of these problems where we're given the percent yield at the beginning and asked to find the actual. Okay? Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know.